Hello everybody out there in science land. This is your Unit 11 benchmark review. This will be the last review of the year for you, and the test will be assigned tomorrow and due Sunday. This is found on page 565 of your science book. We're going to start with the vocabulary review, then move on to the multiple choice, and at the end we'll discuss the pages on the back, okay, or the page on the back. Use the terms in the box to complete the sentences. The use of less of something to make its supply last longer is called conservation. For example, when we turn off the faucet when we brush our teeth to conserve water. An organism that makes its own food is called a producer. So plants are producers because they make their own food through photosynthesis. An animal that eats plants or other animals to get energy is called a consumer. And of course, inside a consumer, we have our herbivores, we have our carnivores, and we have our omnivores. Omnivores eat both plants and animals. Carnivore eat only other animals, and then herbivores eat plants. We also have scavengers who eat dead things, but those dead things that they eat are animals, so they're consumers, as well as decomposers, which are also consumers because they're eating leftover and rotted material. They break it down. Okay, so here we go. Solid waste that people throw into the oceans include various paper products. The table below shows how long it takes for these items to decompose in salt water. Based on the evidence, which would you claim will decompose the fastest? So as in, which one of these will decompose the fastest? So 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. It'll be the paper towel. It'll take it 2 to 4 weeks. Number 5, the fish in the stream near Ish's house have been dying. What is the most likely cause? It says here a new bridge has been built across the stream. The water level in the stream has decreased slightly. A nearby factory releases warm water into the stream, or the number of insects living near the stream has increased. Well, it would be the fact that the rise in temperature of the water puts the water in a level where they cannot survive. So that release of warm water into the stream is causing it. Okay, number 7, give me 1 second. Number 7, for breakfast, Madison ate a bowl of cereal with milk. For breakfast, the chipmunk ate seeds. How are Madison and the chipmunk alike? Okay, are they both herbivores? Are they both being carnivores? Are they both getting some energy? Or are they both being fruit producers? Well, when you eat, you're getting energy, so they're both getting energy. Emmy is studying animals that live in Florida marshes. She makes the following graphs to show how the number of fish and marsh birds changed in a certain area over time. Okay, what most likely happened when the number of fish was the highest? So when the number of fish was the highest, what probably happened? Well, if there's more fish, that means that the birds can eat more. So the birds' population increased because there was more food to eat. So if there was more food, more birds could eat over there. So the population increased. Each year, humpback whales travel from Alaska to Hawaii. What is the correct word for this process? When they move in certain parts of the year, that's called migration. They look for warmer weathers, especially to breed, have their young. 10, a farmer in Florida grows tomatoes throughout most of the year. In the winter, the farmer changes his main crop from tomatoes to cabbages. What is the main reason for growing cabbages instead of tomatoes in the winter? Well, that might be because tomatoes grow poorly in the winter, so he has to switch to something else that's going to survive it, and that would be cabbage. 11, during the winter, purple finches are often seen, that's a bird, are often seen in Florida. During the summer, purple finches are rarely seen in Florida. Which statement best explains that change? That's because since Florida is warmer than other places in the north during the winter, they migrate to Florida during those cold weather up there so they can survive in warmer weather of Florida. Okay, 12. Winston, that's one of our students. Winston has plants in his house. He waters them every other day. He leaves them by the window so they can get sunlight. Why do the plants need sunlight? Okay, they need sunlight because through the process of photosynthesis, they make their own food. Without sunlight, that wouldn't be possible. So to make their own food, that's why they're a producer. The diagram below shows how a compost pile works. So the dead plants and food scraps will start to decay, to break down. The earthworms will eat those plants and scraps, and this helps create rich soil because when the earthworms start getting rid of what they eat, they create nutrients in the ground, so it becomes rich soil. Think about what the earthworm does in the compost pile. Which word describes the earthworm? So the earthworm is a scavenger because it is eating dead things or decaying food, okay? 14, Carla wants to show how living things get energy. Which sequence is correct, okay? So we know that all food chains on the planet are actually powered by the sun, because without the sun we cannot have plants. So we're not gonna go from sunlight to a consumer because a consumer does not eat sunlight. Okay, what we need to go is from a sunlight to a producer, which is gonna use that sun to make its own food. Then the consumer is gonna eat it, and a decomposer might eat the consumer. This is the correct order. So right after sunlight, you need a producer. Keep that in mind. The picture below shows some animals that you can find in a grassland food chain. Which is the carnivore, okay? So the carnivore, which one eats another animal? That would be the snake, which is number 3. So that's H, okay? Horses get energy by eating grass and oats. Florida panthers get energy by eating deer and raccoons. Raccoons get energy by eating frogs and fruit. Bobcats get energy by eating lizards and birds. Which one of all of those is a herbivore? So that only eats plants. Well, the horse was eating the grass, so the horse is the herbivore. Everybody else was eating other animals, which makes them carnivores. 17, each year a maple tree's leaves change from green to orange. During which season does this happen? So typically, that would be in the fall. And of course, in Florida, we don't see as many of these color leaf changes as they see in more northern states. But we've studied that it is during this time in most of the United States, especially towards the north, that they see these seasonal changes like leaves changing color. So we want to say the fall. Okay. Last page. You're almost there. So write the answer to these questions. This right here shows a food web, and what a food web is a bunch of food chains that are interwoven together, because some animals can be found in more than one food chain, so we call it a food web. Identify the organisms shown in the food web as producers, consumers, or decomposers. So in our picture, the producers are the grasses. Okay, the consumers are anything that's eating something else that is not making their own food. So the cricket, the robin, the hawk, the rabbit, and the toad. And the decomposer would be the fungi. Okay? Classify the consumers as herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. So inside, like I said in the front page, consumers can be in various categories. The herbivore would be the cricket and the rabbit. The omnivore, because it can eat either plants or animals, would be the robin. And then the carnivores would be the toad and the hawk, okay? Then I'm just gonna talk about these out loud to make sure that you're listening in. You can stop the video and write it if you need to. Make a claim about why all animals depend on producers such as plants, and use an example from the food web to explain your reasoning. Well, in that food web right there, we can see that the cricket is eating plants, and the toad then eats that cricket. If there wasn't any plant for the cricket to eat, then that would mean that the toad wouldn't be able to eat the cricket because it wouldn't exist. So therefore, there would be no food for the toads and everything from that point on. So the toad really depends on those plants, because those plants will start that energy transfer moving through the food chain. 19. Juan studied this food web and claimed that hawks were the last link in every food chain shown. Vicky pointed to a different organism and claimed that it was the last link. Which organism did Vicky identify, and what was her reasoning? Well, I think what Vicky was pointing to was the fungi, because that is the last link in all the food chains shown on this web. That's because that fungi is going to break down every single other thing. They're fungi and bacteria, they're decomposers, so they break down the waste and the dead bodies of those plants and animals. And because all organisms eventually are going to be broken down that way, it is reasonable to say that the decomposers are the last link in all food chains, because eventually everything is going to rot and decay and something else is going to consume its energy. So that's why she was also correct in her point, Vicky. Okay, so I want you to take these 2 pages and the entire chapter and have them with you when you're doing the unit test. It'll be your last unit test of the year, so do it carefully. You want to make sure an adult checks your answers before you submit them, and you have till Sunday to finish, and it'll be posted tomorrow. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.